Abusive relationships don't start with abrupt, angry behavior. Despite what people think, abusive relationships don't start out with overt abuse. They wouldn't last that way. The reason we get sucked in is because it's little by little, piece by piece. There's little manipulations here and there that get us to where we're stuck. They start with small things to see what they can get away with, and it gradually gets worse and worse. Why does this work? I go into it a lot deeper in this YouTube video right here about how abuse changes your brain. But basically what happens is they slowly manipulate your brain to where your brain trusts them and thinks that what they think is right, and it questions your natural thinking ability. Every time you come up with a thought, it's wrong. It's automatically wrong and doesn't believe you. That's why we get sucked in and we stay for way longer than we should. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the top red flags that I think everyone needs to look out for when it comes to dating and recognizing abuse in relationships. But before I get too deep into it, if this is your first time hanging out, welcome. My name is Karleigh Saunders, and I'm a confidence and abuse recovery coach. I am here to help you not only heal from the abuse that you endured, but to build the skill of confidence so you can step into the life of independence and freedom that you deserve. Okay, so before I get into the red flags, I kind of want to do a kind of brief overview as to why we don't recognize these red flags to begin with. What we don't realize is that when we're in a relationship, generally what happens is we're in the love bombing phase, especially in the beginning. This is where they come off as the perfect person. They're charming, they're kind, they're complimentary. You may even go out for a lot of extravagant dates, get a lot of flowers, have a lot of show-off situations, right? And so what happens in these situations is we put on our rose-colored glasses. And when we're wearing our rose-colored glasses, looking around in a relationship, the red flags don't look like red flags. The red flags just blend in with the world around you. This is why it's incredibly important to be aware of what these red flags are, so you can take off those glasses and see them directly for what they are, call them out, and walk away before you get stuck too deep. Okay, so red flag number one is gaslighting. According to Google, the definition of gaslighting is to manipulate someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. Basically, what's that saying is they get you to think that the reality that you see is wrong and that the reality that they see is the right one. So even though there's something happening right in front of your face, you don't believe that it's happening. Why? Because your brain's been manipulated and you don't trust the world around you. If you have ever thought to yourself, oh, maybe he's right, maybe I am crazy, chances are you're not crazy. Abusers use this technique to rob you of your sanity and your voice. If you lose trust in the world around you, you're not going to speak up because you don't think that what you say has value or any place. And you also think that what you're going to say is wrong. And once you lose your sanity, once you lose your voice, that's where they step in and they begin to pull your power away bit by bit. Because if you don't speak up for yourself, if you don't trust the world around you, you've got no one else to lean on but them, and that keeps you stuck. So what does gaslighting look like? Here are a few examples. I never did that. I think you need help. Did you take your meds today? Dear God, it's not like I hit you. Just get over it. You are so pathetic. Don't you realize that? No one else is ever going to want to put up with you. You can't even manage to keep the kitchen clean. Why would anyone want to be with someone as lazy as you? Gaslighting can also look like chronic victimhood. Whereas when you call it out and you begin to state that you're uncomfortable, that you've been disrespected, where you set boundaries, they go, well, I'm just horrible. I'm just awful. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe you should just leave. I know I'm so terrible. Then gaslighting can fall into several different categories. But basically, gaslighting is anything that causes you to question your reality. That includes your thoughts, your feelings, and your own understanding of the situation, including whether or not you think it's inappropriate or whether or not you feel uncomfortable. If you ever question your right to feel those things, chances are you're being gaslighted. Red flag number two, physical threats. The thing that I personally experienced in each abusive relationship that I was in was an escalation of violence. Very rarely does physical abuse begin with direct hits. Generally, in abusive relationships, it starts out more verbal and emotional and then becomes more physical. But even then, you don't just go from verbal, emotional to outright physical abuse. Sometimes it's that way, but usually it's a lot more covert. They start with things like, it starts with the aggression not being aimed at you, but definitely being near you. When I was 17 years old, I was in my first aggressively physical abusive relationship. My boyfriend would get mad at me so easily. I remember the first time he punched the couch. I was sitting on one end of the couch and he was pacing and throwing a fit about something. He got so angry at me that he punched the couch next to me. I was on the end, and you know that middle seat? He punched the cushion about next to me, not right next to me, but definitely enough for me to get a message. However, because he didn't directly hit me, I let it go. It escalated to him throwing a pillow at the spot next to me on the bed. If I showed any signs of being scared or uncomfortable, he would respond as an eye roll with, "Oh my God, settle down. It's not like I hit you. You just really pissed me off." The next step was him putting his fist through the wall next to me because I wouldn't sleep with him. It became physical against me shortly thereafter. Here are some more examples of what physical threats can look like. Hitting another object like a couch, a car, a pillow. Throwing things at you that shouldn't hurt, like a pillow, stuffed animal, t-shirt. Bursting through a locked door. Putting their fist through a wall. And shoving you and catching you before you get hurt. Thereby being the one that causes the problem as well as saving you from the problem. Yeah, our brains get real twisted up in here. Another incident that really stands out to me is one of my more recent exes. We had gotten into a fight and we were both screaming at each other. We're both angry and upset. No one was listening to what anyone had to say. I had decided that I had enough. I was worried. I wanted to get out. So I grabbed my shoes. I went to the bathroom and locked the door. I wanted a quiet place where I could sit and put on my shoes without worrying that he was going to rip the shoes out of my hand. Next thing I know, before I even had a chance to sit down, he came bursting through the door, ripping the lock off, as well as ripping the door right off the hinges. His eyes were full of rage and his fists were so tight, his knuckles were white. The thing that gets me the most is that I actually wasn't surprised. And I didn't show fear, at least to my knowledge. I wanted to keep my fear hidden behind my anger because if nothing else, I wanted to at least bluff and make him think that as long as I wasn't scared of him, he couldn't do anything to me. Things escalated a lot more during the 5 years that we were together. It is so important to recognize these things and call them out as you see them. And when I say call them out, I am not saying to go out and directly say that to the person because that may not be safe. But what I am saying is call it out to yourself. Recognize it for what it is and see that you need to get out. And if nothing else, begin to make an exit plan. Talk to people, make plans and get out as soon as possible. And the thing to recognize here is that the more you let them get away with, the more they're going to do it. So just like how when I was 17 in that relationship, because he punched the couch and he didn't punch me, I let him get away with it. I didn't make a big deal. However, that made him think, okay, she's not going to get mad at me for punching a couch. Let's see what else I can get away with. And it escalated to being the worst relationship that I'd ever been in. And I just want to thank God that I'm alive today. Red flag number 3, mocking your goals and dreams. Baby, I love you, but there's no way you could do that. You're too fat. That was my high school boyfriend's response to me telling him that I wanted to run cross country in high school. I was so angry at him for saying that to me, and I definitely let it show. I was so pissed, and I didn't even bother hiding it. Instead of apologizing or showing any sort of remorse, all he ended up doing was rolling his eyes and saying that I just wasn't the physical type, and that wasn't his fault. I was determined to prove him wrong, but the comments still stung. And of course, those comments weren't the only ones he made. Once he recognized that that was something I wanted to do, any chance he could, he took to put me down and make comments about my physical shape. I remember we were sitting down at the table one time eating dinner, and I mentioned to him that I wanted to be a bodybuilder someday. He literally spit his drink on me and all over my dinner and said that that was disgusting and he wouldn't allow it. He said that I was too fat for it to happen anyway. And besides, women with that much muscle were just disgusting and intimidating, and he wanted nothing to do with it. These are just my personal examples, but any that you can think of where you've ever been mocked for your dreams or for your goals, something that you want to do, that's not okay. If they're not going to be supportive of you and support you along your journey, they don't need to be in your life, period. Red flag number 4, not respecting your boundaries. I don't feel comfortable around him. It's like he's trying to touch me. My ex rolled his eyes and said that I was just conceited. It was all in my head that his best friend was trying to hit on me and trying to get to me. He said that it was fine and I needed to get over it. He was allowed to have friends over. And yet he wouldn't let me leave because he would miss me too much. That night he proceeded to get extremely drunk and his friend managed to stay sober. Now looking back, I can definitely notice the pattern, and I'm just grateful that I didn't drink that night. After my ex got so drunk that he ripped the door right off the hinges, I made him go to bed. His friend would not leave, and he continued to say things that would get between my ex and I. Little digs here and there, like talking about how I'm too beautiful for him. I was too attractive for him. He was lucky to have someone like me. But not in a way that was encouraging, but in a way that was very creepy. When he got too close, I'm really glad that he respected me when I said not to touch me and to leave me alone. But still, that situation could have ended very differently. When I didn't want to be around his friend, when I stated that I was uncomfortable, even if he didn't want his friend to leave, even if he didn't fully believe me in that moment, he should have at least stayed sober and been able to protect me and take care of me because I felt uncomfortable. Unfortunately, his wants, his needs came before my physical safety. And that is a major red flag. And the truth is here is that he didn't respect my boundary. So what does this mean? He didn't respect me. He didn't respect my wants, my needs, or my discomfort. If someone doesn't respect your boundary, they don't respect you, period. End of story. Regardless of what your boundary is, regardless of whether or not they agree with the boundary, regardless of any of that, if someone doesn't respect your boundary, they don't respect you or think that you deserve the decency of human respect, let alone respect as a partner. Boo, you deserve so much better. This is abuse and it is not okay. Abuse is not love. You need to make sure that you are acutely aware of all of these things. Just as a recap, the 4 red flags we talked about in this video are 1, gaslighting, 2, physical aggression, 3, mocking of your dreams and goals, and 4, not respecting your boundaries. From the time I was 12 to 23, I was stuck in the abusive relationship cycle. I experienced this over and over again, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And it is certainly not something that I want for you. You deserve more. Oh, and by the way, whether or not you've gone through this, even if you've been in it, even if you are still in that relationship, you still deserve more. I was worthy of more then, and I am worthy of more now. Just because I allowed it back then doesn't mean that I deserved it. Same for you. It doesn't matter how you got in the situation you're in, but if this resonates with you, boo, I pray that you please get out. If you need support in this area, or if you just need someone to talk to, please feel free to comment below or send me a DM over on Instagram at karleigh.lynn if you're wanting to keep it more private. All of our conversations in my DM are 100% anonymous, and I want it to be a safe place for you. So again, if this resonates with you and you're needing someone to just talk to about it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm also happy to help connect you with resources in your area to help you get out if you need to create an exit plan. I really hope this helped you today, and I really hope that this helped to give you some clarity on what to look out for and what to not allow. We've been taught by a lot of things, like a lot of romantic movies, romantic comedies, and even just what we've been taught in schools, that abuse is okay. We're taught that if the cute boy is picking on us, it's because they like us. We're told that if they're mean to us, it means that they care. That's not how it should be. If someone cares about you, they're not going to treat you like garbage, period. So again, if you need anything at all, please feel free to comment below, send me a DM over on Instagram. I'm happy to help however I can. Also, be sure to check the links in the show description for other resources that can help you along the way on your recovery journey, as well as stock up on some fun affirmation and worthy merch. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and never forget that you are strong, you are capable, you are intelligent, and boo, you are so freaking worthy.